The sun filtered through the Bodhi tree, casting gentle light on the seated Buddha and his attentive disciples. His serene expression radiated tranquility, as his eyes scanned the gathering in profound contemplation. Then, a wandering merchant approached, his face marked by frustration and weariness. "Master," the merchant began, his voice betraying a restless spirit. Ananda leaned forward, troubled by thoughts of imbalance. "Master, our world takes too much and gives too little. You carry burdens heavier than your words," the Buddha replied softly. Signaling the merchant to take his place among the assembly, the Buddha lifted a single reed, its slender body trembling in the breeze. "What stands before you?" he asked, his tone gentle but commanding. A disciple spoke, his voice clear but uncertain. "A reed, Master, fragile yet whole." The Buddha nodded and snapped the reed in two, the sound sharp in the hushed air. "This is what speech can become," the Buddha said, holding up the broken pieces. "When it lacks mindfulness." His voice, though calm, carried the authority of ancient wisdom. The disciples leaned closer, their faces reflecting both curiosity and reverence. The Buddha continued, "Words have the power to unite, much like the whole reed. Yet, without care, they fracture like this." His fingers released the broken reed, allowing it to fall to the ground. The act was simple, yet it carried an unspoken gravity that held the assembly in silent reflection. "Silence precedes speech," the Buddha said, his eyes meeting the merchant's troubled gaze. "A mindful silence reveals the unspoken truths of others' hearts." "Master, how do we cultivate giving without expectation, in a world driven by self-interest and accumulation?" Buddha gestured to the sky, its vast expanse undisturbed. "True giving arises from compassion, the understanding that all beings share life's fragile web." His voice emerged again, soft yet resonant. "True communication begins within. Listen not to words, but to the silence beneath them." The disciples and the merchant sat motionless, the profound simplicity of his words sinking deep into their consciousness. A small bird landed near the Buddha, its presence unnoticed until it sang a brief, melodious note. The Buddha opened his eyes, his gaze following the bird. "Even this bird, in its simplicity, knows the value of listening before singing," he remarked, a gentle smile gracing his lips. A farmer stepped forward and bowed deeply before Buddha. "Lord, this river once nourished us, but now it falters. Sit beneath this tree," the Buddha instructed, his tone patient and nurturing. "Observe without speaking. Let nature teach you the art of listening." The merchant hesitated briefly but then obeyed, moving to sit beneath the tree where sunlight and shadow danced in harmony. As the merchant settled into silence, the Buddha turned to his disciples, his focus shifting subtly but purposefully. "Each of you has a storm within," the Buddha said, his voice a steady anchor. "Silence calms these tempests, allowing wisdom to emerge." The disciples exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of introspection and understanding. One disciple, known for his fiery temperament, raised his hand hesitantly. "Master, what if silence brings discomfort, revealing truths we fear to face?" he asked, his voice tinged with vulnerability. "Lord, how do we practice reciprocity with the earth, when scarcity drives us to take?" Buddha gazed at the trees lining the riverbank. "Observe the forest. In silence, you meet your true self." The disciple nodded slowly, his head bowing as if in surrender to a deeper understanding. The merchant, still seated under the tree, appeared calmer now, his breathing slow and steady. The Buddha observed him with quiet satisfaction, his teachings beginning to take root in the merchant's being. Mindfulness lays the foundation. Action rooted in understanding and compassion must follow, like rain nourishing parched earth. "Yes," he said simply, his voice carrying both affirmation and encouragement. In hearing life, you open the door to understanding others. How do we survive? Buddha replied, sustainability requires sacrifice and adaptation. Take only what you need. Return as a silent listener, the Buddha said, his words as profound as they were simple. Let their stories fill your heart. The merchant bowed deeply, his hands pressed together in a gesture of gratitude. His departure was unhurried, his footsteps lighter than when he had arrived. The Buddha turned back to his disciples, his gaze sweeping over them like a gentle tide. The silent listener becomes the bridge, he said, his voice a melodic echo in the stillness. Through this bridge, understanding flows freely, uniting what was once divided. A gentle wind passed through the assembly, carrying the Buddha's words to the very edges of the gathering. Begin with the soil under your feet. Rebuild. The Buddha closed his eyes once more, signaling the end of his discourse. The assembly remained silent, each individual lost in their own reflections. The Bodhi tree stood as a silent witness, its ancient presence a testament to the enduring power of mindful communication. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the ground, the assembly slowly dispersed. Patience and perseverance are the companions of meaningful change. Endurance reveals hope. The disciples reflected deeply, understanding that their actions today would echo into the future. For better or worse, the river flowed faintly, yet its rhythm, though weak, seemed to carry the promise of renewal beneath its surface. The Buddha carried 2 clay pots, one filled with clear water and the other containing murky, unsettled water. His disciples watched curiously as the Buddha placed both pots on the ground, their presence a silent question. Behold these pots, the Buddha began, his voice resonating like a calm stream. One holds clarity, the other, confusion. His words stirred the attentive minds of his disciples. Their eyes locked on the objects before them. Master, one disciple asked hesitantly, what do these pots teach us? The Buddha smiled gently, his gaze holding both compassion and expectation. Patience, he said softly, for the lesson will soon reveal itself. The Buddha lifted the pot with clear water, tilting it so the water poured into the river without disrupting its flow. This water mirrors a mind that listens, the Buddha said. It adapts, blending effortlessly with what surrounds it. He then turned his attention to the murky pot, lifting it with deliberate care. As he poured its contents, the muddy water splashed chaotically, clouding the river momentarily. This water mirrors a mind consumed by its own turbulence, he explained, his tone neither condemning nor excusing. The disciples watched as the muddy river began to settle, the clouded waters gradually blending into clarity. Observe, the Buddha said, gesturing to the flowing river. Even muddy water seeks harmony, given time and stillness. A young disciple approached hesitantly, his face marked with worry. Master, my words often resemble the muddy pot, he confessed. How can I cultivate the clarity you speak of? The Buddha placed the empty pot beside the young disciple, his eyes filled with gentle encouragement. Begin with silence, the Buddha advised. Let your mind settle, like the river finding its balance after the storm. The young disciple nodded, his hands trembling slightly as he touched the pot, his heart absorbing the simplicity of the gesture. The Buddha continued, his voice steady and soothing. To communicate with clarity, observe the needs of others before expressing your thoughts. The Buddha smiled, his expression radiating quiet approval. Compassion, Sarika, transforms not just others, but your own path toward awakening. He knelt and cupped his hands, lifting the clear water before allowing it to spill back. Even in urgency, pause long enough to find the clearest words, he replied. Rushing creates ripples that disrupt understanding. A fisherman passing by paused, intrigued by the scene and the wisdom emanating from the gathering. Teacher, he called, his voice roughened by years of labor. How do your lessons apply to those whose lives demand constant action? The Buddha invited the fisherman to join the circle, his welcoming gesture an embodiment of his teachings. Action without awareness scatters like muddy water, the Buddha explained. Mindful action, however, flows with purpose. Like clear water finding its course, the land thrives through balance. Plant with gratitude, harvest with humility, and replenish what you have taken. Life offers both clarity and muddiness, he said, holding the pot high so all could see. How you handle each defines your path. The disciples and the fishermen watched as the Buddha set the pot down, the water within slowly settling into clearer layers. Patience transforms muddiness into clarity, the Buddha said, his gaze sweeping across the gathering. Thus, patience transforms chaotic communication into meaningful connection. The lesson resonated deeply, the simplicity of the imagery anchoring the profound truth within each listener's heart. The twilight bathed the grove in hues of gold and purple, casting long shadows over the seated assembly. A foreign monk named Tenzin approached the Buddha with a question heavy in his heart. Words hold power to nourish or to harm, he said. May yours flow like clear water, nurturing life around you. The child clutched the toy closely, understanding the metaphor woven into Buddha's response. Hope blossomed in her innocent heart. As the sun climbed higher, painting the world in radiant light, the Buddha rose gracefully, his movements as fluid as the lessons he imparted. His disciples followed, their hearts filled with determination to embody the mindful clarity they had witnessed. The fisherman returned to his work, but his steps carried newfound awareness, his actions imbued with a sense of purpose and peace. The lesson of the two pots lingered in the hearts of all who had gathered, a timeless reminder of the art of mindful communication. The Buddha walked ahead, his figure a tranquil silhouette against the vibrant backdrop of the world. His teachings remained, like ripples in the river, touching lives far beyond the immediate moment, their influence endless and profound. Another day, another twilight, the Buddha sat beneath the amber sky, his presence a calm anchor amidst shifting hues. Disciples gathered around him, their expressions a mixture of reverence and anticipation for the wisdom they would receive. The Buddha unveiled a golden mirror, its surface reflecting the fading light and the curious faces of the assembly. Behold this mirror, he said, his voice steady, yet tender, and see yourselves clearly in its reflection. A farmer approached hesitantly, his weathered hands clasped before him in a gesture of humility and regret. Master, the farmer began, his voice heavy with sorrow. My words wounded my son. Now silence has fallen between us. The Buddha turned the mirror toward the farmer, allowing its polished surface to capture his troubled features. Do you see your anger? Asked the Buddha softly. And do you see your love? The farmer nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on his reflection. The Buddha continued, his words flowing with gentle authority. This mirror reveals both truths, the shadow and the light within your heart. Ananda asked, Master, what if humanity's pursuit of modern advancements further distances us from this truth of interconnectedness? Buddha's eyes twinkled with wisdom. Modern advancements can serve interconnectedness when guided by compassion and awareness, not by greed or disregard. Speak with humility, the Buddha instructed, his gaze steady yet compassionate. Let your son see the love behind your words. Remember this: each act of kindness restores threads, and each moment of mindfulness strengthens roots. The disciples and villagers watched as Buddha walked through the marketplace, sowing teachings like seeds scattered across fertile soil. Master, he said, what if reflection reveals faults we fear others may see? The Buddha smiled gently, his eyes radiating kindness. True reflection begins within, the Buddha replied, his tone carrying the calmness of deep conviction. It humbles the speaker and elevates the listener. The young disciple nodded, his heart absorbing the profound simplicity of the teaching. The Buddha turned the mirror toward the disciples, its surface reflecting their diverse expressions of curiosity, doubt, and reverence. Look into this mirror, he instructed, and ask yourselves, what truths do your words carry? The gathering grew quiet, the disciples and the farmer alike lost in their own reflections, both literal and metaphorical. Words, the Buddha said softly, can heal like gentle rain or harm like a fierce storm. Choose to heal. A child wandered into the circle, her small hands clutching a flower, her innocent curiosity drawing smiles from the assembly. The Buddha leaned forward, his attention shifting gently to the child. What do you see in this mirror? He asked, his voice warm and inviting. The child giggled, pointing at her own reflection. I see me, she exclaimed, her laughter lightening the solemn atmosphere. The Buddha smiled, his gaze filled with boundless affection. And what do you feel? He asked, guiding her toward deeper thought. The child frowned momentarily, her small brow furrowed as she pondered the question. Happy, she said finally, her voice clear and honest. The Buddha turned to his disciples, his expression serene yet purposeful. In every communication, the Buddha explained, a golden mirror exists. It reflects intentions, emotions, and truths between speaker and listener. The disciples nodded, their understanding deepening as they considered the implications of his words. The farmer rose, his shoulders no longer weighed down by regret. To forgive is to liberate yourself from the chains of resentment, a gift both to the giver and the receiver, he explained. The Buddha stood and walked among his disciples, his presence a beacon of calm and wisdom. Each act of compassion, no matter how small, creates ripples that touch lives beyond what we can see, he said. A kind word, a shared meal, or even a silent prayer carries the potential to transform hearts, he elaborated. Gaze into your golden mirror, he said, and let your words heal rather than harm. The assembly sat in silence, their hearts attuned to the unspoken harmony that the Buddha's presence evoked. The mirror, though a simple object, had become a profound symbol of mindful communication. As the first stars appeared in the sky, the disciples rose slowly, their minds filled with determination to embody the teachings they had received. The farmer left to find his son, his steps purposeful and lightened by newfound understanding. The Buddha remained seated, his figure a tranquil silhouette against the deepening hues of twilight. His teachings lingered in the air, their influence rippling outward like waves on a quiet lake. The golden mirror rested on the ground, its surface now reflecting the infinite expanse of the night sky. The lesson it carried remained timeless, a beacon of truth and understanding for all who sought its wisdom. Another day had passed, yet the teachings of the Buddha continued their eternal journey, illuminating hearts and minds with the art of mindful communication. The Buddha listened intently, his silence amplifying the significance of their words, his presence affirming their efforts. Compassion multiplies the blessings of gratitude, expanding its reach to uplift all beings, he said at last. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.